Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thank you all for joining us today. We'll get off to a fast start here. Let me turn on my screen and turn on the slides. Here we go. All right, you guys should be seeing that now. So welcome to our email marketing workshop. We do this every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern. So join us again next week or in subsequent weeks. And just real quick, find the chat button here in the webinar platform. And if you have questions as we go here, we'll be keeping an eye on that. And we'll try to respond to your questions as they come in. And also love to hear any feedback that you have. And more importantly, if you have some suggestions about topics you'd like to see us cover next week or in subsequent weeks, definitely put it in the chat and let us know, and we'll put that on the agenda. So the whole point of this exercise is to help you improve the results of the email campaigns that you're sending now. So whatever can be helpful there, I'm up for. Let's see, today's agenda, actually, first of all, the prior workshops that we've held are all available on this blog post here. So go there and we'll post today's session on there as well. So you can watch the recording of the previous workshops that we've held, and there's a little summary of what topics were covered for each one and so on. Today, we're going to cover a 3-step process for starting and optimizing campaigns. It's the process I use for virtually every campaign I ever get involved in, whether it's our campaigns or clients' campaigns. It's simple and it works. So I'm going to try and walk you through it. Love to hear your feedback on it. Part of that is we'll be getting into creating and using customer personas. That's probably there's graduate level courses on that, but and so we're not going to get that deep, but I'm going to just try to hit the basics and give you some simple tips to help you flesh that out. Also, email copywriting for B2B emails in particular, but a lot of what we'll talk about applies to B2C as well. And then we'll have some time for your questions at the end. But again, let us know your questions as we go. Let me first, I'm going to pull up a poll. So you guys should see that now. And when you're, if you're able to see that, if you will, just give us some feedback. Do you know your customer's pain? And let's see. I always get a little confused by this platform and how it does the polls. So bear with me. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to show you the results. I don't know why that's the case. Maybe you're seeing them and I don't know it. But anyway, thank you guys for your input. What I see is there's a good number of people that say, yep, I got it figured out. And few that say, yeah, kind of, or I'm working on it. And we got one person who said, what does that mean? So good. You're in the right place. We're going to explain that in a minute. And for everybody else, we're going to use the pain. That's a big part of the 3 Ps process that we're going to talk about. Before we get into all of that, a little background on Sales Nexus. So we're a CRM designed by salespeople for salespeople. Our claim to fame is salespeople love to use our CRM, which, as most of you probably know, is not that normal. And we're also a marketing automation platform that's right in the same database, the same UI as the sales CRM. So in a B2B situation, especially, you have a marketing automation platform that's directly driven by everything the salespeople are doing. So you can really automate their world and the customer funnel. But in addition to all of that, we also provide services, data enrichment and cleansing, so we can help you with your list. We also can help you set up your CRM, set up your email campaign, optimize your email campaign, and so on, as well as we're the only CRM out there that will promise you that we're not spying on your data, we're not selling it to other people or metadata about your customers to other people, and we're not going to censor you if you happen to send out an email that we don't agree with. Little background on, one of our greatest strengths is customers love Sales Nexus support. We provide premium support to all of our customers. You don't have to pay extra for it. You can see here, we're really proud of our response times. You call, you ask a question, you get help, you go back to work. We're Better Business Bureau rated A+, which is also unique. You can check any of our competitors there, HubSpot, Salesforce, MailChimp, whoever. Nobody's even close to an A+. Most of them are in the D range. And most of you have experienced their help desk, and you know why. Here's a little bit on our pricing. Just comparing with Salesforce and HubSpot, our setup packages are a lot more affordable because we do them internally. We don't farm it out to a consultant. The subscriptions are less costly as well. And like I mentioned earlier, we're not going to charge you extra to get that premium support. So it's considerably less expensive. So you're getting a great sales CRM with marketing automation built in, and you're going to save a lot of money. So that's what my little Sales Nexus commercial. All right, so now let's get into the meat of the matter. So first of all, what I see people doing all the time, over and over and over again, the mistakes that customers make with their emails, their email campaigns, and their optimizing of those campaigns is, number one, they're talking about themselves and their products and their company in their emails instead of the customer, right? We're going to talk about, how to flip that around today. And then number two, they're undervaluing the subject line. Really, the subject line is everything, because if you don't get the email opened, it doesn't matter what's inside the email, right? And people don't pay enough attention to that. And they're making unstructured and random changes to the email copy and the designs. In other words, you send out an email, maybe it doesn't get the results you wanted, and so you just go change something and try it again, right? But when you make those changes, if you do it in a somewhat organized way, whether your change helps or hurts, you can measure that. But if you start making too many changes at once, it's hard to know what really worked, because sometimes literally a word will change everything. So you need to really focus it down. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Campaign performance in 3 steps, the 3 Ps. Number 1, picture the customer. Number 2, poke the pain point, make it hurt. That's what I said. You want to make the customer hurt. You're not trying to send them an email that makes them feel all warm and fuzzy, because that doesn't motivate them to do anything, right? They have a problem, a challenge, something that you want to help them with, but you first have to get them to take action, right? You have to motivate them. And the way to do that is remind them about that pain. So we're going to talk about how to do that. And then, like I just talked about, pick one thing to change at a time. Don't change the subject line and the copy in the email, because then when you send it out again, you're not going to know which one made the difference, right? Change one of those, send it, measure, see if it worked or it didn't, then maybe change the other one and measure that as well. So that's the 3 Ps. Now let's get into how we do all this, right? So first of all, the persona. This is like I mentioned earlier, there's courses on how to create personas, but it doesn't have to be rocket science, I don't think. At the end of the day, you're just trying to paint a picture of your customer. I think, here what I have on the screen is an example of a persona with different types of information about the customer. Now, number one, you might have more than one persona, different markets, different types of customers, different products that you have for different markets. And also, I think the thing that most people just overlook, again, you tend to be kind of self-focused. When you're talking about your customer, you're mostly talking about your customer, where they intersect with your products and services. That's important, of course, but from a marketing point of view, especially, and importantly, from an email point of view, knowing seemingly unrelated information about the customer can be golden, because I've seen many scenarios where it's hard to target the right customer. Maybe you tell me that you sell pumps to plant managers in oil refineries or something, right? Well, that may be true, and that's great. I can go, to a database, and I can search up a list of plant managers, right? In oil refineries. That's a specific industry, and that's a specific title. Those are lists you can acquire, right? Or target in different ways. But there's a difference between the plant manager who's, working with your competitor, and they're very happy with their product, and, they're not looking to make any changes, right? Changing your pumps in your refinery is not easy. So what you have to try and find is, how are you going to target the people that are actually in the mood to make a change right now? And sometimes it'll be things that you don't expect, like little details, like their demographics. In a B2B situation like that, you wouldn't think, the person's age really matters that much, or maybe even where they went to college or what hobbies they have. But believe it or not, a lot of times you will find a correlation. So you want to try and identify all of that information. What's their income? Where'd they go to college? What are their hobbies? How many kids do they have? Do they tend to be married or not? All of those things are important, because they can help you target that person and speak to them about things that matter to them. What are their hobbies and interests? What are their goals in life? Where'd they grow up? Did they get a college degree, or just a high school GED or something, right? So you just want to, paint that picture in as much detail as you can, and don't ignore the details. Don't ever exclude something because you feel like that doesn't matter. It's not relevant to what we do. It may not be, but it may help you target them. You may go on an ad platform and find out that that's a metric that you can target, right? So, here's kind of some things to be sure and think about, and techniques to pursue to build that persona. First of all, you want to make sure you're looking across all of your customers. Don't just go to 2 of your best customers and find out what they tell you, because that's not going to that's not the picture you want, really, right? You want your best customers, but you also want your small customers, your big customers, your problem customers, your really easy customers. You want to talk to leads that, didn't sign up for some reason. You want to talk to people that are currently in your pipeline, prospects. You also want to talk to former customers, maybe customers that left your company to go with the competition. And those are different personas, perhaps, right? But by doing that, you can see the contrast. You'll see perhaps there's a correlation of all of our big, great customers went to Ivy League colleges, right? But all the customers that we lost last year went to, community college. I don't know why that matters. You may not know in your business why that would ever matter. It may not seem relevant at all, but it's a correlation. And that would allow you to go and say, hey, let me target people that went to, Princeton and Yale and Harvard. And then you're going to have better results, right? Obviously, specific industries and markets, and you may have different personas for different markets. You want to interview all these customers, but then also just get together as a team and brainstorm it out and just kind of build a huge laundry list of all the stuff that, people think are characteristics of your customers, people on your team, that is. What I would say is do that first and then go sit down with the customers and do some interviews. And that way you kind of have your laundry list as a way to prompt them a little bit, when they're going to give you real short kind of descriptions. And then you can say, well, what about this, to kind of prompt them to go deeper. You can do surveys, you can send out a survey via email or on social media, whatever. And then, to me, this is the most important part. Take what you come up with and go back to the customers that you have a good, solid relationship with and show it to them and ask them if they feel it's accurate. And maybe you miss something or something like that. Seems like a lot of work, I know. And number one, it's a journey, not a destination. It's not, this is something really ideally you're doing all the time, but you don't have to pause everything until you're done with this. I would just start it, and you're going to start learning, and you can use what you learn right now today while you continue to learn more and build a more full-blown persona. Let's see. Anybody have any questions? Oh, I see earlier Mac asked about getting a copy of the presentation. Yeah, later today, you're going to get an email with a link to the recording of the presentation. And then it'll be up on on the blog that I mentioned earlier a little later on. Well, probably by Monday. Okay, so that's the persona. Now, how do we poke the pain? How do we make it hurt, right? This is another screenshot of a persona that I found on the internet. And let's see, if I go back to the prior one, you see they have goals, common objections, challenges. Those are similar to the pain in a way. But in this one, they have pain points, right? Concern that she'll need to manage mailing artworks and won't be able to afford the website fees. Back to our little poll. That's what a pain is. What is the problem that your customer is suffering from that you can help them with, right? That's what you want to speak to. So let's get into that a little bit. I actually typed out those 3 pains that were in that persona profile that we just looked at. Concerned that she'll need to manage mailing artworks and won't be able to afford the website fees. Worried that she's one of many artists and won't get enough exposure. Doesn't want the service to take too high a percentage of her sales. So I don't even know who this business is, but obviously they do, some kind of service for artists to publish their artwork and get exposure and things like that, right? So I just used this as an example of going through this 3 Ps process. So we started with the persona where we identified these pains. Now, how are we going to turn this into emails, right? Well, first, you want to open your email copy with a question about the pain. So what I did here is I just literally took those pain statements from the persona and turned them into a question. Are you concerned about website fees and hassles with mailing artworks? Are you worried that you won't be seen in a crowd of artists? Are you worried about high fees cutting your income? You want to open your email with that. That's how, once you get them to look at that email, you're going to hit them where the pain is, right? Make them want to fix the pain. That's what we're trying to do. Now, here I took that first one or I guess it was the second one, and I turned it into a little bit of the copy for an email. And the one thing I should say here is less is more. Just because you're a great copywriter does not mean your email should have a bunch of copy, right? You always have to remember the people you're sending to are busy. They get a ton of emails. They're really just looking for a reason to delete your email. Me personally, you send me an email that's got more than, I have to scroll to see all the copy. I'm not going to read it. I'm not even going to start. I'm just going to delete it because I don't have time for it, right? So keep it short. Get to that pain right up front. Let's just read through this. Are you worried that you won't be seen in a crowd of artists? It's no fun to feel invisible and certainly not a good way to earn a living. If standing out by highlighting what makes you special is important to you, then check out our free guide to getting the attention of art buyers. Download The Art of Rising to the Top of the Heap here. So that's it. So you see what I did there, right? I took the pain and turned it into a question. And then I kind of tried to punch on it a little bit, just make it hurt. Really make them want to, make them uncomfortable. Make them want to get out of their chair and do something about this pain that's been driving me nuts for weeks, right? It's no fun to feel invisible and certainly not a good way to earn a living. Nobody wants to be invisible. Everybody wants to make a good living, right? So then another question, sort of, if fixing this pain is important to you, then do this, download the guide here is the call to action, right? So it's just pain, punch the pain. If you want to fix it, then do this, right? It seems simple. Obviously, it's not that simple when you're doing it for yourself, right? What I would strongly suggest is bring in somebody outside of the business to help you with this if you're kind of struggling with it. Because it's not you. It really isn't. It's just being objective about your own stuff is nearly impossible. I can't do it for me. I can do it for this random person that has an art website of some sort, without even trying. But writing an email about Sales Nexus, it's just not very easy because, I live and breathe all that stuff, and putting myself in the customer's shoes is not very easy. Putting myself in the customer's shoes and being objective about Sales Nexus is not easy, right? And it's the same for you, and it's the same for everybody else in the email marketing world. So don't fight it. Get somebody else. It could be, could be your mom, could be your spouse, could be your best friend. It really doesn't matter. They don't have to be an expert in your industry. In fact, in a way, it's almost better that they're not. And just, have them help you take that persona and turn it into something that really hits that pain. Okay. Now, so we took the pain, we wrote the copy. Now let's turn it into a subject line. Like I mentioned earlier, the subject line is often ignored or undervalued. It is the name of the game. If you get your email opened, you are already almost to the finish line, right? What's the average open rate? 20, 30% for most people, right? So most people don't even open your email, meaning your subject line is not working for most people, right? So if you just get a little bit of improvement in your open rate, then the click rates are going to go up automatically, really. So with the subject line, it's the same thing. You take the pain and, condense it down to something short. That's the key with subject lines that I think people get wrong a lot, is they're just too long. 50% of your emails are getting read on a mobile device. When I look at my email on a mobile device and you've got more than 5 words in your subject line, I don't even see it. So it's wasted, right? Keep it short. So if the pain is, are you concerned about website fees and hassles with mailing artworks? Then the subject line is artwork website fees too high, right? So if that's my problem, that, the websites I'm looking at to publish my artwork are just too expensive. Okay, you got my attention, right? Are you worried that you won't be seen in a crowd of artists? Subject line is artists get seen. Okay, you got my attention. I want to know more, right? Are you worried about high fees cutting your income? Subject line is high fees equal low fun, or something. You can be playful, you can be silly. Just keep it short and keep it relevant to the pain of the customer. Now, let's go back here for a minute. Where was it? Yeah, here's the copy, right? What's in there about the product or the company or me? Nothing, right? This could be about, I still don't know what the product is, and that's the whole point. We're not trying to sell anything here. What we're selling is the download. We're just trying to make them want to fix the pain and take whatever action we're calling for in the email. That's it. After they do that, after they come to your website, once they convert, whatever your call to action is, that's when you can start telling them more about how, awesome your product and your company is, right? In a B2C world with like a transactional emails where you have existing customers that have purchased one product and now you're trying to upsell them another product or something like that, it's a little different for sure. But these principles still work in our kind of best practices. I think, you just have a little more leeway when you're dealing with a, sort of already captured audience you can be a little more lazy about this, I guess is maybe a good way to say that. Okay. Anybody have any questions, comments about any of that so far? If you do, just type it into the chat. I'm going to upload here our email campaign guide. That's just a PDF guide that we created, and it's all about how to do this. It'll help you think about the pains. It'll help you with writing, those opening lines and, kind of stepping outside of your own head and thinking about things from the customer's point of view. Okay. So, and then the third P is pick one thing to change. So now we've sent out our email, right? We wrote that email, we created our subject line, we sent it out, and now we're looking at the statistics. We're looking at our open rate and our click rate and opt-outs and bounces and all that other stuff, right? And we don't like something about that, right? We didn't get perfect numbers. I don't really know what perfect numbers for an email campaign are, but it depends, obviously. But like we talked about in the beginning, the key is what's wonderful about email marketing is, number one, it doesn't cost you really anything to send the email again a couple days later, right? And you can measure almost everything about it. So it's like this wonderful test bed that's almost unparalleled in the marketing world. Everything else that I've ever tried in terms of test marketing and optimizing copy and graphics and stuff like that is a lot harder than just sending out another email, really. A lot harder and a lot more expensive. So it's an awesome little lab that you can use and very quickly get things right. And what you learn in your emails can then be expanded to, add graphics and, pay-per-click ads and whatever else. But, I'm not a scientist. I've never done a lot of experiments, but, I've learned, I guess, kind of the hard way that when you're testing and measuring, if you start changing too many things at once, it gets really hard to keep track of what, when you look at the result, what mattered, So if you try to change the subject line and the copy all at once and you send the email a second time, how are you going to know if you got better results? Was it because you changed the subject line, or was it because you changed the copy, or change the copy and the graphics all at once? Again, you're not going to know what made the difference. And then there's a call to action also. Obviously, that's kind of the hardest to change, but I see people doing it all the time. Point being, it's one of the biggest mistakes people make. You didn't get the results you wanted, so let's change everything. Let's redo it, rethink the whole thing, right? And now, so you're just kind of throwing different bait in the water, and maybe you get lucky, but maybe you won't, right? And you could be doing that, trying new baits for months and months and months. But if you get kind of scientific about it and just say, hey, okay, we got a low open rate. Well, obviously that means let's change the subject line, right? But I added a couple of things here. If you got low open rates, make sure that you check the authentication and check that you're on to see if you're on blacklists and things like that. If you're already doing that and you kind of got that handled, great. Then just worry about the subject line. But if you're not, if you haven't checked that kind of stuff in a while, you need to. For those of you who don't already know, Google and Yahoo kind of changed how they're using the authentication this year. It went into effect in February, and it has changed things. So we have a lot of clients who are running into issues because they never set up their DKIM or their DMARC or whatever, and they never knew they even had to worry about it, right? So check that stuff. Make sure you're good there. Check it every so often. It doesn't always stay good for all kinds of crazy reasons. But once you've cleared that hurdle, you got your authentication, DMARC, DKIM, SPF, all that's checking out good. You're not on any blacklists. Okay. You didn't get opens, then you got a problem with the subject line. Do not get distracted about maybe your open rate was low and your click rate was very low also. Okay. But that does not mean you should change the subject line and the copy. What you don't know yet is if you get the open rate up there, will the click rate go up as well? Because if more people see your email, you should get more clicks, right? So just change the subject line only, right? Because when you send it again and you get different results, better or worse, you will know exactly why. You will know that this subject line did not work and that subject line worked better, right? And that now you've made a step forward, right? Then you look at, okay, we got good opens this time. Did we still get a low click rate? Well, now we know that we have a problem with the email itself. It could be the graphics. It could be the copy. We don't know. Could be the call to action. So we're going to have to monkey with each of those three things and change one at a time and see which one makes the difference, right? My advice is do the easy stuff first. You know, one of the things that in the B2B world for sure is an easy thing to do and usually generally improves results anyway, is just take the graphics out. You know, it's generally a distraction in a B2B world, especially. So just take out the graphics. That's going to help you really get that copy humming, make it work well. See if that improves things. If that doesn't improve things, then try reworking the copy a little bit, right? But even there, you might want to be careful and only do, you know, one sentence or one paragraph at a time. Because again, if you got a 3-paragraph email and you rewrite the whole thing, you don't really know which part made the difference. I have seen many times where literally one word will change the click rate or the reply rate significantly by 50% or something crazy. So just make small changes at a time to that copy. And then finally, if none of that's working, most likely you got a problem with the call to action. You know, you're just asking the customer. Usually the mistake people make is they're asking for too much. The customer's just not ready to take that big a step forward with you yet, right? So you want to back down a little bit, you know, instead of, you know, if I'm at a cocktail party and I just met somebody and I ask them for a date and they say no, it doesn't mean they wouldn't have said yes. It probably means I asked too quickly, right? What I should have done is ask them to dance first, right? So that's what you want to do with your call to action. Kind of back it down a step or two. you know. The problem you have here is it's all about the content that you have available, right? Like what calls to action can you deliver on? In a B2B world, what most people always go for is, hey, if you'd like to talk about this, let me know a good time to call you, or click here to book a meeting with me using my Calendly link or whatever, right? Again, that's like asking for the date. They're not ready for that. Give them a way to learn a little bit about you, learn that you're educated and informed and helpful to them in the area that they're of their pain, and a lot of times a PDF download, a video, those kind of things can be a great first step. And then if they click on that, even if they just go to a YouTube page to watch a video, and you don't have a form or a landing page all created and all that, don't worry about that, because you're going to know in the marketing system that you're using that they clicked. And you can even, like in Sales Nexus, you can automate it. So if they click to watch the video, then they automatically go on a different campaign. So you're at the top of my funnel, you click to watch the video, and I automatically put you one layer lower on a different campaign that might start asking for appointments now. But we don't do it first. We do it after we've danced, right? Hopefully that's making sense. Okay. Well, anybody have any other questions? While you are typing in your questions in the chat, there's my email. If you have anything that you'd like to suggest or questions you want to just ask me directly, go ahead and shoot me an email. If you want to do our free email campaign facelift, it's a 30-minute call. We'll talk about your campaigns, what you're trying to accomplish, and I guarantee you, I'll give you 3 powerful recommendations that you can take away from that call and go into the system you're using now and implement and take advantage of. So if you want to do that, book that here. Oops. I'm trying to copy that link so I can put it in the chat. There we go. Now I figured it out. So I'm putting that in the chat, and I'll do this other one too. If you want to set up a time to do a demo of Sales Nexus and talk about how we can automate your customer outreach processes and clean up your list, add to your list, etc. Use that second link. And in both cases, if you book an appointment, we'll give you $500 in credit to use towards data cleansing, enrichment, and a subscription to Sales Nexus. So take advantage of that. Yeah. Let's see. Anybody have any other questions? Okay. Well, looks like everybody's good. Everybody have a great rest of your Friday and a great weekend. As I mentioned before, you're going to get an email later today with a recording, so you can reference that, share it with other folks. And if we can help you with anything, please reach out. Thanks, everybody.